Hudson Valley Country, 107.3 WRWD. It's Uncle Mike. I am so happy. I've got two my personal heroes in the room with me from the Purple Heart Honor Mission, which is the funding arm of the National Purple Heart Hall of Honor, which is in New Windsor, New York. So joining me is my brother, a dear old friend, a Vietnam combat veteran from the United States Marine Corps, the former chairman of the board of the Purple Heart Mission, Richie Lay. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, Mike.
I didn't think I'd ever say the former chairman, but there you are.
That's right.
Since we've been doing this, you've been the chairman.
There you go, and I got the new guy with me.
Well, it's in good hands, I can tell you.
Yes.
And also Jeremy McVey, a U.S. Army veteran. Jeremy, where were you? Were you deployed anywhere? How did you?
No, my timing just ended up, I was stationed stateside the entire time.
And you were a West Point graduate.
That is
You're
correct.
part of the Army Corps of Engineers.
Mm-hmm.
How many years were you?
5 years.
5 years.
Yep.
And Jeremy is the new chairman of the Purple Heart Honor Mission. He took over from Richie, and I think you probably got it in good shape. Richie did a hell of a job when he was there. And as I said to you walking in here, Richie and I have had a lot of fun over the years. And but it's all been for the right reason, and it's been for a great cause, because if you haven't been to that museum, and it's funny, Richie knows I say this all the time, there's millions and millions of New Yorkers that have never seen the Statue of Liberty or any, and there's millions and millions that's a national museum for the Purple Heart,
Yes,
right here in New Windsor, and probably people in Orange and Rockland and Sullivan counties haven't seen it, much less New York, which is kind of sad.
It is the national recognized. It's the only national recognized hall that preserves the stories of Purple Heart recipients.
Right here in our backyard.
Right here.
And it's evolved over the years. When it first opened, I remember it was I think it was Andy Kamanchak, our buddy Andy, telling me the story about going through with an Air Force colonel or commander or something.
General Hughes.
General Hughes, that's right.
Hughes.
And he looked around and he said, he says, "Where are all the airplanes, son?" So that was the first metamorphosis. And now you've got it to a point where it's a beautiful museum that incorporates all the services.
Yeah. Now it's an interactive museum. Before it was all stagnant displays. So now it's computerized, and we went through 2 renovations on it. So, but that was the whole thing. It was not represented. The only branches represented were the Army and the Navy. So there was actually Army and Marine Corps. So the Navy wanted to get involved, and so did the Air Force. So,
and it's amazing. Do you still have that mural when you come in with all the different battles?
Yes, the timeline.
Yeah,
that we preserved that.
When they had not, I guess it was the last time I broadcast live from the dedication.
Yes.
And Chuck was still with us, Chuck Benfer. And Andy took Chuck and I through right before the opening, before we went on the air to show us. And that timeline is just amazing. And the thing that got me is I'll never forget, there was an older gentleman there. I assume it was a grandfather with a little tot with him. And they got down to the shores of Normandy, to the invasion. And he's pointing at the mural and he says, "I was there. That might even be me in the picture." And that little boy's eyes were as big as silver dollars. Yes. And I thought to myself, this is priceless. This is what we need. Because we say all the time, all the events we go to, when we see kids there, I love seeing children there, because they're not learning in school about what happened, and they've got to learn somewhere. And I think it's so important for us, everything we do. We've got a big event coming up. This is the 3rd annual Patriot Project? 4th annual. Yeah. Okay, well, I guess it is the 4th now that I think about it. The Patriot Project is happening this year. It's not far away. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about a really cool concert that you've put together that we want the public to be at. Jeremy, so you've taken over as the new chairman of the Purple Heart Honor Mission. Now, you were on the board before, I assume, right?
That's correct. Yep.
So you knew what was going on. I mean, the inner workings were there already.
Yep.
Is it different now sitting in the chair you're in, or is it just the same job in a different position?
No, I think you're exposed to a lot more information behind the scenes, a lot of things that Richie was doing that I didn't even know Richie was doing, and that our folks are involved in that you just don't know about until you're sitting in this particular seat. So I have a much greater appreciation for the work that they've been doing.
And it's amazing. Again, it's what's the website? It's purplehearthonormission.org or .com?
.org.
Oh,
.org.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So purplehearthonormission.org is the website that you can find everything out about what's going on. And again, they need funds to keep this museum going. They are a nonprofit, and they want donations, and they deserve donations because it's a noble cause. And if you've never been through the museum, I'm telling you, you need to go spend a day over there because the stories are all there. Hey, it's Uncle Mike. I'm speaking with Marine Corps veteran Richie Lay, current board member and former chairman of the Purple Heart Honor Mission, and U.S. Army veteran West Point graduate Jeremy McVey, who is the current chairman of the Honor Mission. One of the initiatives is trying to get all the Purple Hearts registered because there's some out there that aren't registered still, right, Richie?
Right. Dan Clarino, the vice chairman of the board, just received the Purple Heart mailed in yesterday, as a matter of fact, to his office with just no information. We have approximately 60 or 70 that we accumulated over the course of the years. And the story with this one is they found it out, I believe it was California. They found it in a like a thrift shop, which is a common story. People pass away. We retrieved one from a woman whose son was killed, only son, out in Long Island during World War II. She passed away. They were moving the furniture, and it was an estate sale. And the movers picked up the sofa. And in the side of the sofa, she had kept his Purple Heart from World War II, buried in the side. One of the guys put it in. He says, "Gee, I don't know what it is." Nobody knew what it was. So there was a retired teacher. And she turned around. She says, "Let me take that, please." And she actually kept it for many, many years and then brought it back up to Long Island. I went down and retrieved the medal. And it was such a solemn, and she was standing with white gloves on. That's how reverent she felt with that. But she was a teacher, and she said, we have to spread that word. So never can tell how it happens.
And there's still a lot of medals out there that aren't registered, and because they're not registered, we don't know the stories.
We don't know the
behind
stories.
them because every one of those Purple Hearts has a, Richie, you have a Purple Heart, and there's a story behind receiving that Purple Heart, and oftentimes it's miraculous, the story that and the soldiers like Richie is never, they don't talk about it. So the fact that we have a place right here in Orange County that has all these stories available, anybody can go in. If you know the name of they can go in and research it and find out what the story was.
You can actually access that off of, from across the country. As long as you access the website, you can go on to the Roll of Honor. Each Purple Heart, it's not the individual who received the Purple Heart. The story affects everybody. 8 guys in a squad. Somebody called in that medevac chopper. Somebody helped you onto the evacuated off of the field. It's just they all have they all own that. So it's not just the individual.
And I can tell you, I never had the honor of serving, but some of the stories and some of these men and women were superheroes, and they don't want to look at themselves that way. But what they did, they were doing their jobs. Mm-hmm. And that's the way they always looked at it. They didn't think they did anything miraculous. They were put in a situation where they had to react. And usually most of the stories, they've saved multiple lives, sometimes 20, 30, sometimes 100 lives that they saved because of their actions. To me, that's superhuman. Mm-hmm. But these are soldiers that, a lot of them, I'm sure, when you talk to them, are like, yeah, well, I was just doing my job. I mean, that's what I was put there to do. So it's a fascinating thing to go see. Let's talk a little bit about the Patriot project, because Richie, this is the 4th one. They've all been successful.
Yes.
The first one was amazing that it came together the way it did, and you've learned from each one anytime you do an event like this. So the crux of the Purple Heart Patriot project is they attempt to fly in a Purple Heart recipient from every state in the country with a guest. They're here for about a week, and they're treated like royalty. It's not exactly like it, but it's patterned after the honor flight.
Yes.
To treat them like rock stars, like they are, and give them the thanks, respect, and honor they deserve. But it's each one got a little different, got a little better, and the first one was fantastic.
We were improving. Yep.
Yeah. But why don't you, both of you, try to run us through what goes on? I mean, you fly them in from all around the country. I think you've got 41 scheduled this time. Is that where you're at?
We're more than 45.
45 now, so it's going up since last time Richie and I talked. Yeah. You're trying to get to 50, and if you don't, it's okay. 45 is amazing. And the entire country is represented there. Mm-hmm. But you fly them in for 5 days. I think it's 4 or 5 days. And they're all together for that time, along with your staff and everybody involved. And you take them all over New York State, right?
Yeah, this year we're doing April 27th to May 1st. So they fly in April 27th. We take care of them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're going to go down to the 9/11 Museum, New York City. We have a boat tour around the Statue of Liberty down there. We're going to go to West Point, and we have a tour booked for that. We're taking them over to Stewart Air National Guard Base. We've got a tour over there. And then we get a private tour of the National Purple Heart Hall of Honor. We have some celebrations where we bring in some guest speakers to talk. We also have our key event, our big event, which is with the
concert for America's
Heroes.
Yeah,
with the Mid-Atlantic Philharmonic Orchestra.
And we're gonna highlight. We're gonna take a quick break and highlight that when we come back. But the week, the days that they're here are just amazing. Yeah. And it's kind of neat to have that many different states represented because and they're all different branches of service, all different conflicts that they served in. And you'll get to 50 eventually. I know you will, but 45 is pretty close.
Yeah, I think we were actually at 50 this year, and we had some people back out because of some of the TSA concerns or flying concerns. So we were there.
Right, and health concerns.
Yeah, and some health concerns.
Sadly, at the honor flight, we do the meet and greet 2 weeks before, and we've had people that were at the meet and greet that didn't make it.
Right.
Because especially with the World War II guys, they were in their 90s, and they seemed like they were in good shape, but 2 weeks' time can take a toll on somebody. So that happens.
Yep. And at the last mission, we had somebody who was supposed to come in. He died the day before, but his wife came in, and we treated her as if she was the vet.
That was fantastic for her, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That probably helped.
By the way, it's all volunteers. The only paid person is our executive director, Colonel Russ Vernon. So the rest of us are all volunteers.
Yeah. That's the same pattern as the honor flight. There's only one paid employee there, and what you guys are doing is absolutely amazing. But even the honor flight, you're taking 80 or plus heroes to Washington for the day. Some of them are in wheelchairs, and they do it with how they pull that off. It blows my mind every time I watch them because they get them down there, they get them around Washington, and they get them back all in one day.
Because the volunteers are committed, right? They want it. They want to. They didn't. Maybe a lot of them didn't serve. But they want to serve in some way, right? They want to help.
Yeah, well, the back of their sweatshirt says something from Will Rogers that I never served, so I stayed along the road and salute them is how I feel. I feel the same way. Like I said, I never served, but I've done everything in my power to help all our veterans in the military use this platform. Is why we have it.
And Jen DeFrancesca from Hudson Valley, from day one, has helped us, best practices from what she got. Yeah. She was there on the first two missions. Yeah. So she's having a mission coming up the middle of the month.
April 11th.
April 11th.
Yeah, we had to do the meet and greet a week early because they couldn't get the firehouse. We did the meet and greet already. And April 11th, we're flying out of Stewart, and there'll be another flight probably in May out of Stewart. And then we do one in the fall out of Westchester County Airport. And, the Purple Heart, now you're drawing in the entire country.
Yes.
Honor Flight, there's 140 hubs of Honor Flight around the country. So there's a flight going to Washington every day from somewhere.
Yes.
Let's take a quick break. I'll play a tune, and then we come back. I'm speaking with Richie Lay and Jeremy McVey of the Purple Heart Honor Mission. Jeremy is the new chairman, and Richie is just retired as the chairman. And we're going to talk about...
retire, you know that.
Yeah, well, you're a Marine, so you never retire. I know. I get glared at every time I say that. But it's true. We come back, we'll talk about the concert for America's Heroes, which I'm really excited about. This is a new twist to the Patriot Project.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be great. And what we really want, I've got a lot of Patriots listening to this show. We want you there on April 30th, 7 o'clock the concert starts. It's right down at Mount St. Mary College in their theater. We got plenty of room, and we want to fill it up. We've got to pay some bills. Got Ella Langley and Riley Green on the way, and stay with us because in the 4 o'clock hour, Richie and Jeremy will be back with me, and we're going to finish our conversation. Just past 4 p.m. here in the Hudson Valley, and you're listening to Red, White, and Blue Saturday Afternoons with Uncle Mike right here on Hudson Valley Country, 107.3 WRWD. Richie Lay, a Marine combat veteran from Vietnam, the former chairman of the Purple Heart Honor Mission, and it's Purple Heart purpleheartmission.org, though, is the website, right?
purpleheartmission.org.
Okay. And that's Jeremy McVey, who is a West Point graduate, an Army veteran, and he is the new chairman of the Purple Heart Honor Mission, which is we say it all the time, they're a part of the Purple Heart, but they're the finance side of it. They're the fundraising side of it. Mm-hmm. And they do everything they can to keep that hall open, and they've been doing a great job. It's doing well. And we're back at a point where we're going to have a Patriot project, which is coming up. April 27th is when they're flying in, right?
Yes.
But part of this, you described in the last break about what you do with it. You've got close to 45 now so far scheduled to come in here. Mm-hmm. They spend a week with you, and you show them everything you can show them in New York. There's some celebrations, but you're honoring them and their guests. And we talk about that all the time. You know, the families of our heroes serve right beside the heroes. They're not in combat, obviously, but they're holding down the home front, and they're a big part of it. They allow our hero to be able to go do what he does and not worry about what's going on back home. Of course, they worry about it, but they can trust that the kids are being taken care of. But the concert this year, Jeremy and Richie, is a little different. We used to do it at the Armory.
Yes.
And it was always great. It was always you usually have a keynote speaker, who's often been a Medal of Honor winner or someone of that stature who's your keynote speaker. Who's the speaker this year?
Chris Gibson.
Oh,
Former Congressman Chris Gibson is going to do that. He's a Purple Heart recipient, retired as a colonel from the U.S. Army. He's going to provide these remarks and be our keynote speaker during the concert for America's Heroes on April 3rd.
Wow.
And
Chris,
he served 4 combat tours, 7 altogether, or 9 altogether, but 4 combat tours. And then he come back, of course, and he joined Congress. I had the pleasure of meeting him at the hall one day, myself, Russ, Andy Kamanchak, and he's a sitting congressman, and he didn't have any press people with him. It was a private event. He specifically asked, I don't want anybody to show up, no news media. And we got to talk later on, and he said, I'm here for my people. I don't want anybody snapping pictures or anything else. Just the 4 of us took the tour through there. And at the very end of it, he looked at my lapel pin, and he says, gee, I wish I had one like that. So there's a picture of me taking my lapel pin off and pinning it on him, you know. But the interesting thing with Chris, and we went on to Siena College. He's academic. He wrote a book on strategy that's still taught at West Point today. But the interesting thing with Chris, and to his credit, he went to Congress just to see as much as he could do for his country. And he's a firm believer in term limits. Mm-hmm. You know, let me do and let me get out. So he did serve the 1 term, but he's a man of integrity and honor.
He's a dear friend, Chris.
Yes.
I'll be happy to see him. I haven't seen him in a while.
Yes.
I'll tell you a real quick story about Chris. Everything you just said, it's just amazing, the career he's had. But his devotion, we had a project here in Dutchess called the Warrior Wagon that I was part of with Frank Costello Sr.
Yes.
We were doing, a Warrior Wagon was built from a World War II fire wagon, and it's pulled with Percheron horses. Mm-hmm. And we do honor ceremonies. We can put 12 to 14 veterans on there. We were at the fair. We would take them through the fairgrounds, do an honor ceremony. Anyway, we were in the Pleasant Valley Parade, and we had lined up a dozen veterans. One of them was a World War II veteran. But he got there, and you could see he was uncomfortable being there. Mm. And when he got to realize that all the other heroes on board were combat veterans, he says, I'm not getting on there. Mm. We said, sir, you had a long career during World War II. I don't deserve to be on that wagon. And he sat down. Now, the people had dropped him off. He was an elderly gentleman, and he was sitting at a picnic table. Just, I'll wait here till they come get me. Mm. So Chris had come over, and we had him up at the fair not long before that on the Warrior Wagon with us, and it was great. So he says, he came over to thank us. He came over to me. He said, how are things going? I said, I need you to do me a favor, sir. I said, that gentleman sitting over there won't get on the wagon. What do you mean? I said, he said he wasn't in combat. He didn't deserve to. He says, give me a few minutes. He went over, and he sat down next to him, and they had a 15-minute, and the guy got up and got on the wagon.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's Chris Gibson.
That he's just humble.
So he came back, and he's funny. He smiled at me. It's mission accomplished. I said, thank you, sir. I don't care what he said to him. It's none of my business. I said, thank you, sir. And That's Chris Gibson. That's the Chris I know. And your point about Congress, he said, I'm going down there to find out about it. I'm not staying there as a career. And he didn't. He could have got reelected.
He definitely could have.
And he just said, I'm done. And he went to Siena. And I think he had another college after Siena that he worked at, up by him where he lives.
Yes.
But I'll be happy to. I'm telling you, there's another reason to be at this concert, because Chris is an absolute tremendous speaker. And the breadth of knowledge that he has and experience, it'll be a fascinating speech, I can guarantee.
He also was the guest speaker. You alluded to it also because you were there when we did the grand opening for the hall.
Yep.
He was our guest speaker.
Yep. I remember that. But anyway, so the Chris is going to be the keynote speaker. Chris Gibson, former, I think he had 27 or 29 years in the Army. He had a long career.
25, I think.
Yeah. And he'll be the keynote. But you've got the Mid-Atlantic Philharmonic Orchestra. Now, this is something, we never had any talent like that at one of these.
No,
yeah. So, we wanted to do it big, right? Where this is our fourth year of doing this. We wanted to do something big and to weave into it the 250th anniversary, right, across America. So we decided to pay tribute. We used the Mid-Atlantic Philharmonic Orchestra, brought in Colonel Gibson to do a discussion, and we really wanted to figure out how to celebrate, really show the Purple Heart Award honorees that we really appreciated what they were doing. So we did this Mid-Atlantic Philharmonic Orchestra. We're also really focused on our Vietnam veterans who came home and never really got the great homecoming that they deserved. And so we really wanted to promote that they're also going to be there and enjoying the orchestra.
Every Vietnam veteran I know, including Richie, all they want to be told is welcome home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They don't thank them for their service. Yeah. They already realize that you appreciate that. Just tell them welcome home, because they never got one.
Yeah.
And they're getting them now.
Yeah, and the tickets are very, very reasonable.
Sure.
Yeah. $20 donation, basically. It covers some of the costs of that kind.
And those are reasonable because of our sponsors like Resorts World, Remax Benchmark, Realty, and Drake Loeb PLLC, right? They contribute to this and allow us to...
Yes.
Resorts shows up in a lot of the things that I do. They're part of the a show that's going to be coming up in the fall at 105th, and they're very dedicated to our veterans. So the concert starts at the doors open at 6, starts at 7. It's at the Aquinas Hall Theater. I always get that name wrong.
At Mount St. Mary.
At Mount St. Mary College, right there on Powell Avenue in Newburgh. And this is open to the public, and actually we want the public there.
Right.
This is an opportunity. You're never going to see 45 Purple Heart recipients on stage again. Not around here until you do the next Patriot project. Hey, it's Uncle Mike, and I'm speaking with a Vietnam combat veteran from the United States Marine Corps, Richie Lay, who is a board member and former chair of the Purple Heart Honor Mission, along with the United States Army veteran, graduate of West Point, Jeremy McVey, who is the current chairman of the mission. You
could also imagine... as they walk in, these recipients, as they're walking in, they're getting the welcome home, especially from Vietnam, but also the Iraq and Afghanistan people that are coming in.
And you create
welcome home.
You create a canyon of heroes is what you create. That's what we do at Honor Flight too. Yes. And that, I can tell you, Honor Flight, those old timers come home from Washington, they are exhausted. It's been a long day. And I used to be, Richie knows, I used to be in a vantage point by the hallway where I could see them. And I could see them coming down a hallway, and you could see they're ready to go get on that bus and go home or back to their cars. They come around that corner, and they see that crowd there chanting USA, and there for them, shaking their hands, and they have kids with and their eyes just light up, and they get that second wind, man. And by the time they get outside, they probably don't go to sleep when they get home. They're so wound up. But it raises the hair on my arms every time I see it, because they're finally getting that thank you.
I went on an honor flight as the escort for a World War II veteran, and at the very end of the flight, we were walking from the plane up at the upper level, and he said, "There's no way." His name was Joe Farina. He said, "There was no way that this could be topped." And I said, "You ain't seen nothing yet." And as we walked through the doors, you could hear the people. He was absolutely in tears.
Yeah. And Joe, I was blessed to have gotten to know Joe because of you. When we did the Warrior Wagon up at Dutchess County, he brought a group of Catholic War veterans. And it was so funny when I finally got to talk to him and explain what was going on. I said, how many? We'll have 12. I said, okay, sir, do you need it? I'll be there, and trust me, they're going to be there. And they were. Mm-hmm. It was like he wasn't out. The order was given, and we're going to be there. It was one of the best rides we had. They were a great group of guys, and we really felt good about what we did because it was a great.
I was there that day.
Yeah,
it was great.
But again, it's the Purple Heart Honor Mission, the Patriot Project, which is the fourth one. If you've never heard of it before, they try to fly in a Purple Heart recipient from each state with a guest, and they've got 45 right now lined up. We're almost there, but each year the number's been growing, Richie.
Yes.
I mean, the first year we had 30.
Yeah.
One or 30
getting it together. Mm-hmm. And another thing is some of the states, like the Dakotas, they merged both South Dakota and North Dakota. So therefore, we're getting one representative. We'll take one from each state. But that's why we're not really hitting the 50.
And these nominees, we're not just talking about random Purple Heart winners, right? Each state will nominate a few, and then we read through the different bios, and we discuss. We have a lot of discussions around this, and then they're really picked from a large group of nominees, the 45 that came.
But one of the things that it's not just their military service.
Yeah.
It's what they did afterwards, how they contributed to the veterans' cause. Yeah. Some of our noted recipients that are coming in this year, we have a 6-time Purple Heart recipient.
My God, 6 times.
Yeah, 6 times. He's an overachiever.
but make people understand what to unfortunately have one Purple Heart means that you were in a situation that nobody listening to me right now ever wanted to be in, and you performed at a level no one ever expected. Here's a gentleman you're talking about that did that 6 times. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. He's a Marine.
Yeah,
right?
He had to go back and improve it each and every time.
Staff Sergeant Thomas Story Mateo is coming up from Florida, who served in Vietnam, and he's the 6-time Purple Heart Award. So then we've also got U.S. Navy Petty Officer 2nd Class Steve Wolk from Kansas. He's a 2-time Purple Heart recipient who was serving on the USS Pueblo when it was captured in 1968 by North Korea. He was wounded severely during the capture of the ship and spent 11 months as a prisoner of war. You can't imagine the things that some of these guys have been through. It's amazing.
And we always talk about a connection spirituality. When I was on my way to Vietnam in 1968, they kept us on Okinawa, and they held us. They kept on bringing us out to the field, and then they gear us up. And one of the last days, they put us in Parkers, in cold weather Parkers, and we all said we thought Vietnam was hot. And they said you might be doing a side trip. They took an intelligence ship, the Pueblo, and you might be used as a rescue force to go in to intercede. So you got 200 Marines sitting on a tarmac, but what happened was the North Koreans took them inland and dispersed them with their captivity. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. You want to tell us about James?
Yeah, we've got U.S. Marine Major James Capers. He's the first African American to command a Marine recon company and the first enlisted Marine officer African American Marine officer to receive a battlefield commission. Earlier this year, the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate passed legislation to award Major Capers the Medal of Honor. I believe that's on President Trump's desk, ready to be signed. So it's just amazing stuff.
So that's just a couple of the stories. Yeah, you've got 45 plus that are going to be there, and
each one has a great story.
And the concert is so we really want to fill that theater up. Again, the concert is April 30th at 7 p.m. at Aquinas Hall in Mount St. Mary. One of the things, any nonprofit needs volunteers, and the Purple Heart mission definitely needs volunteers. Yeah. You need drivers. All these recipients that are flying in have to be picked up at the airport, driven to the hotel, and then when they go back home, we've got to drive them back. So we need volunteer drivers. Yeah. And I know there's an army of you listening to me. You help with Honor Flight. You help with a lot of other stuff we do. Just know on that 27th, and then it would be the 30. When do they go home?
May 1st.
May 1st. Mm-hmm. So on the 27th and May 1st, mark those days on your calendar, and if you are available, please, we need drivers.
Yeah. And we'll look for volunteer drivers. We look for a lot of different individuals that volunteer. If a business wants to contribute and donate a van or something for us to go down and pick up a bunch of these, we can take those requests or that information at development@purpleheartmission.org. That's the email address is development@purpleheartmission.org. You send an email there, and someone will reply to you and let you know if we can take advantage of.
So after once we finish this interview, I've got all the information here about the Patriot Project. It's still going to go up on all our social media, and we'll have those websites there. But really, they need volunteers, and they're not going to turn you away. They need volunteers.
We'll give you 2 free tickets to the concert, a shirt, and a challenge coin from the Purple Heart Honor Mission.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which you haven't gotten yet, so we'll give it to you.
Okay. Hey, it's Uncle Mike, and I'm speaking with a Vietnam combat veteran from the United States Marine Corps, Richie Lay, who is a board member and former chair of the Purple Heart Honor Mission, along with the United States Army veteran, graduate of West Point, Jeremy McVey, who is the current chairman of the mission.
I just wanted to say, while we're kind of talking about volunteers a little bit, I get a lot of people to say, "Oh, how can I help? What can I do?" And maybe it's driving, maybe it's doing something else. I think a huge way that you can help is to come to the concert.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Attend the concert, cheer, clap when they come out on the stage and you're able to show your appreciation. That's what we're looking for. Yeah. We'll take volunteers for a lot of things, but really come to the concert and really show your appreciation. Yeah.
Oh, please bring the family.
Teach the kids.
Especially kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to see all the young kids you could possibly have there, because unfortunately they don't. One of the things that we were working on with Honor Flight, Richie knows, Don Kelly, who does the videographer that does this, we were getting as many World War II heroes as we could into the studios here and getting them to tell their stories. Because once they die, those stories are gone, and they're not in the history books. And every one of these Purple Heart recipients you have coming have stories that probably their own family hasn't heard.
Correct.
And we want to get those stories, because once they're gone, and nobody's ever going to know. And the children, they will understand more about what their uncle, their grandfather, their brother, their neighbor. Maybe you don't understand why he acts the way he does. When you understand what they've gone through, you'll understand why. And that's important, not only for the kids to understand that growing up, but for that soldier, that hero, to be able to tell his story finally to somebody who wants to listen. It's huge.
Yeah, you get them together and they really start talking and open up, and they just tell stories, great stories.
And the teasing that goes on when they first come in and we do the check-in. By the end of the week, because they're riding back and forth down to New York City on the buses, et cetera, by the end of the week, they are absolutely, you're back into that group spirit, that team spirit, that camaraderie. One of the highlights was, and we'll do it again this year, on that cruise, we come around the Statue of Liberty. So we got the FDNY, the fireboat, to come out around. And as they're coming around, I'm getting chills just speaking about it. They started to blow the horn, and they started with a plume of water. And before it was all over, it was a red, white, and blue plume.
Wow.
Russ and I, we didn't even know if they were going to show up because of the security in the harbor. At the last mission, we have a picture of the red, white, and blue plume, the Statue of Liberty, and a rainbow in the background out of New Jersey.
I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
The guys were crying. How did you do this? The rainbow? Well,
That's
you know what?
Work.
In God we trust. He's on our side. So
God's work.
that's fantastic. And again, you're hearing just bits and pieces about this week. They're going to be here for the whole week. This is one of those things that I'm blown away by what the Purple Heart mission does and puts this together. And again, a lot of them are Vietnam veterans now that were in that era. I mean, an Honor Flight, we've gone through all of World War II. Actually, we have a World War II on this next flight.
Yes.
But it's usually one or two.
Yeah.
And the Korean guys are just a couple ticks behind them, age-wise. We're finally, thank God, we're finally into the Vietnam era, and we're going to be in that era for a long time because there's a lot of Vietnam veterans still alive.
I think there are 70 on this current on a flight that's coming up, and we half of ours are.
And now it's interesting, really quickly about the Vietnam guys, and you brought up the Gulf War veterans and our newer veterans. Everyone I've ever met, Adam Roach, who's a dear friend of ours, was a machine gunner in Fallujah.
Yeah.
And every Vietnam veteran, he says, he thanks them. He says, because the Vietnam veterans, like Richie, have made sure that never happened again. And most of these, the Gulf War and forward guys, they know that the Vietnam veterans, even though they were bitter about what happened, they have made sure, and they love the Vietnam veterans because they tell them when they see them, thank you for what you're doing because you made sure that didn't happen to us. So I think that's an important part of this. And we want, that's the other thing. We want to fill this concert up with Patriots. We want all the active duty and veterans in the area. We want you to be there too.
We made it reasonable, so it's not
$20. Tickets are $20 each. Again, you can go to purpleheartmission.org to get your tickets. And the flyer that I'm going to put up on the internet has a QR code, which makes it real easy. Richie and I don't know what the hell that is, but I know it works.
Jeremy had to tell us, right?
I had my son, we were at a NASCAR race one time, and there was a guy in front of us for the lumber company that had a T-shirt with, I said, my son, what is that? He knew what he was doing. He clicked this. It had all the lumber company sale. Like, holy mackerel, what a great thing. So that QR code really works. Don't know how it works, but it works.
You can also find us on social media, on Facebook. Right. We do a lot of posting of these stories, right? So we're not going to have a moment where you get to hear everybody's story, but if you hop on Facebook and you look at our social media for Purple Heart Honor Mission, you'll find all of these veteran stories, or a lot of their stories, and some of the background behind them.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Again, that's happening the 27th of April through May 1st is the 4th Patriot Mission. More to come. Fortunately, we're back in business and we're getting them done.
Yep.
I'm going to be at the concert. I'll be there. We're all going to be there. We want you there. I want standing room only in that theater.
Yes.
And I know we can do it because there's a lot of Patriots listening to us. So, Richie and Jeremy, it's always great to see you guys, and the door is always open here. Anytime you want to come on here, you're more than welcome. But thanks for all you've done. And Richie, you mentioned earlier, I have said all along, the DNA of a soldier is different than the DNA of anyone else. I know there's very few veterans I know that didn't continue to serve in some way.
Right.
Now, you say, how's that possible? Well, first of all, most of our police officers and our firefighters are veterans.
Yes.
But there's a lot of organizations like the Purple Heart Mission and the Honor Flight and Hope for Heroes. Those veterans just keep serving, and that's their DNA. Right. That's the only way I can explain it. And I've never seen that vary at all. So thank God for what you guys are doing. I appreciate you spending time with me, and we'll talk again.
Thank you for
soon.
Everything you've done over the years.
Hey, it's the least I can do, buddy.
I embarrassed you. He's turning red.
Well, it's the least I can do. I mean, I really mean it. My father was 10th Mountain Division of World War II, and my oldest brother, Tom, is gone now. He got 2 tours in Vietnam, and that's what killed him eventually. He had a long life, but it did catch up with him. And, I tell Richie the story all the time that I was going to go into the service, and he was ready to fight me. He said, Dad served, and I served. After what I went through, you're not going.
Yeah.
And he was bigger than me, and I was like, oh, okay.
And he's dead.
But he meant it, and I know a lot of veterans feel that way. But the Concert for America's Heroes, April 30th at Aquinas Hall, right here in Newburgh. We need to have you there. It's only $20 a piece. PurpleHeartMission.org is where you can get the tickets, or the QR code. Most of you listening know what that is. I don't think I've ever used one. I've never personally used one, but
it's about time. It's about time you use one.
Yeah, for sure. Jeremy, Richie, thanks for stopping by. I love you guys, and anytime you want to come on, we're going to talk to you, and we'll have you back real soon.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
We've got to pay some bills. Justin Moore is just ahead, and Mary Chapin Carpenter is waiting all the way on the other side on Hudson Valley Country.